Imagine you're on a family holiday, sailing on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Everything is calm and beautiful, until suddenly, all the ocean water disappears somewhere, leaving you and your family trapped on a dry, empty land that was once the sea. The story begins with a family enjoying their holidays on a boat in the middle of the ocean. The blue sea stretched endlessly in every direction, and everything looked perfectly normal. They were there to celebrate their son Ben's birthday. It was supposed to be a special and happy day for them. Everyone was in a great mood. But they didn't know that their happiness would only last for a short time. Everything was peaceful for a while. Then Julia, Ben's mom, jumped into the water for a swim. Meanwhile, Ben and his father, Tom, were busy fishing. Everything seemed fine, until Julia felt something huge moving around her. She looked around but saw nothing. Then, suddenly, an unknown force pulled her underwater. At the same time, the equipment on the boat started shaking and moving by itself, as if something strange was happening. But Ben and Tom didn't notice. They were still focused on catching fish. Meanwhile, Julia was drifting farther from the boat and starting to drown. She screamed for Tom with all her strength, but no one could hear her because of the distance and noise. Julia noticed that the ocean water seemed to be moving backward very fast. She called out to her daughter, Cassie, too. But Cassie was lying on the deck, enjoying the sun with her headphones on. She didn't even know her mom was swimming. Julia kept getting pulled farther away. Luckily, Tom finally heard a faint voice. He looked around, saw Julia, and jumped into the water to save her. Ben quickly started the boat engine and turned it toward them. Tom reached Julia and held her, and then Ben and Cassie helped pull both of them back onto the boat. Julia's life was saved. As soon as they got back on board, Tom angrily asked Cassie where her attention was, reminding her that he had told her to keep an eye on her mom. Tom firmly said that no one should get into the water without informing him first. Everyone agreed. It was now getting dark and night was about to fall. The family started preparing for Ben's birthday celebration. After the party ended, Cassie received a video call from her boyfriend. Laughing, she told him they were having a great time on the boat. But then her boyfriend urgently warned her to come to the surface quickly. He said the news was reporting that something very big was about to happen. Hearing this, Cassie glanced at the screen and saw a huge storm forming in the city behind her boyfriend. She got scared, but before she could say anything, the call disconnected. She immediately ran to tell her mom and dad everything. The family started checking the boat's safety. While doing so, they noticed several whales and sharks swimming nearby. Usually, whales and sharks were never seen in that area. Tom, who was an ocean explorer, immediately realized that this was a sign of a massive storm. Before they could do anything else, the boat suddenly shook violently. Everyone panicked and looked at each other. Tom realized that something gigantic had hit the bottom of the boat. To check the damage, he dove underwater. There he saw a huge dent under the boat. It was clear that some giant shark had rammed into it. Tom quickly came back up, but his shoulder was badly injured. Julia immediately stitched his wound. After that, Tom told the family that the shark had damaged the engine and the boat could no longer move. Everyone understood that they were now stuck in the middle of the ocean. Their only hope was to call for help somehow. But when Cassie went outside to make a call, she found there was no signal at all. The boat's communication system wasn't receiving any network either. Everyone began to worry, wondering why everything had suddenly stopped working. Tom then checked their food and water supply. They only had enough for 4 days. After that, nothing. Still, there was a little hope left because they were on a shipping route. Just then, a loud noise came from outside. Everyone panicked and ran out to see what it was. They saw a giant meteoroid coming straight toward them. It looked like it would hit the boat directly. Tom quickly started the force engine. He knew it could destroy the boat, but there was no other option. The engine got completely damaged. But if he hadn't started it, the meteoroid would have hit the boat directly and broken it apart. After that, Tom noticed something strange. The objects falling from the sky weren't just meteoroids. They were actually satellites. That's why the radio and phone signals had suddenly stopped working. Before anyone could calm down, another meteoroid came speeding toward them. Now they had no way to escape. They all rushed to the lower part of the boat and started putting on life jackets so that if the boat flipped, they wouldn't drown. The boat began shaking violently. It felt like they wouldn't survive this time. Suddenly, there was a huge explosion, and then everything went black. When they woke up, they realized they were still alive. They were hurt, but not dead. The strangest thing was that even though there were holes in several parts of the boat, no water was coming in. When they went outside, they were shocked by what they saw. Their boat was no longer on water, it was sitting on land. All around them stretched a dry, lifeless area. Dead fish were scattered everywhere. It looked as if they had come to another world. It was still the same ocean, but all the water had vanished somewhere. Tom took out his compass, checked it, and understood that the Earth's poles had shifted. The North Pole had become south, and the South Pole had moved to the north. That's why the ocean water had completely moved away. Everyone was stunned by this discovery. Tom then told them something even scarier, that anyone who had been living on land would likely be dead now. Hearing this, Cassie broke down. She ran to her room and locked the door. She realized that her boyfriend must be gone too. Meanwhile, Julia started collecting whatever food was left. Ben released all his birthday balloons into the sky, hoping that if anyone else was still alive nearby, they would see them. Tom tried using the radio to contact someone. He didn't expect an answer, but surprisingly he got one. A voice came through. It was a captain named Now. He knew about the ocean shift too because his submarine was trapped in the same condition. Tom asked him what they should do now. Captain Now said that the Earth's poles had indeed changed, but this situation wouldn't last forever. In about a week, everything would return to normal, which meant the ocean would come back to its place. But when that happened, the waves would be unbelievably powerful and dangerous. The captain explained that he would survive because he was inside a submarine, but he warned Tom to find a high place quickly because it was the only way his family might survive. Hearing this, Julia told the children to start packing. Meanwhile, Tom asked the captain if he could take his family in the submarine, saying it was much safer there. The captain said he wanted to help but couldn't. One of his crew members had died, and there was only space left for 2 people in the submarine. He said he could take one person, but not both. Tom begged the captain to take both of his children, offering all their remaining food in return. The captain agreed. He then gave Tom his exact location on a map. Tom calculated and told Julia that if everything went well, they could reach the spot in 2 days. That way, before the ocean water returned, they could get their children to safety. The next morning, the family got ready for the journey. But from a distance, they saw a strange man walking toward them with his dog. Tom noticed that the man looked injured. Wanting to help, Tom picked up a water bottle and went to him. But after drinking the water, instead of thanking Tom, the man suddenly attacked him. Julia saw everything from a distance. The man stabbed Tom with a knife and killed him. Then he started moving toward Julia. Julia quickly ran into the cabin and locked both children inside. She gave Cassie a flare gun and told her to use it only in extreme danger. Meanwhile, the man reached the boat. Julia quickly hid inside the bathroom. The killer started searching all over the boat. He found some food and began eating it greedily, like someone who hadn't eaten for days. After finishing the food, he started looking for Julia again. He went straight to the cabin, but no one was there. Actually, Julia had escaped through a hole in the side of the boat. But the killer's dog saw her and began barking. With no other choice, Julia killed the dog and hid under the boat. When the killer found his dog dead, he realized Julia was outside. He came down from the boat to catch her. Taking that chance, Julia climbed back onto the boat through the broken glass. After a while, the killer found her again. He grabbed Julia by the hair and started choking her. Cassie saw everything from the cabin. She remembered the flare gun her mother had given her. Cassie fired it, and the flare hit the killer, throwing him back. He wasn't badly hurt, but it gave the family a chance to escape. The flare also caused the boat to catch fire. Julia quickly tried to get the children out of there. But before they could leave, the killer attacked her again. This time, Julia kicked him hard, and he fell backward. As soon as they got out of the boat, Cassie and Ben saw their father's dead body. Both started crying. Ben blamed himself, saying that if he hadn't released the balloons into the air, that man would never have found them. Julia held Tom's body tightly and cried too. But then she saw the killer coming out of the burning boat. Staying there any longer was too dangerous. Julia comforted both children and ran away with them. Moments later, their burning boat exploded behind them. All three ran for a long time until they were completely exhausted. They stopped behind a hill to rest. They thought maybe the killer had finally stopped chasing them. But Ben was still crying. Cassie tried to comfort him and offered him water, but he refused to drink. Julia gently told her son that none of this was his fault. He had only released the balloons to ask for help. But soon she saw the killer again, still coming after them. All three started running once more. They were getting more and more tired, but every time they looked back, the killer was still there. They kept running until they reached a place filled with poisonous water. Crossing it was very dangerous, but Julia said they had no choice. They had to go through it. After they crossed the toxic water, they all felt very weak. Julia noticed that Ben was dehydrated. She gave him their last few drops of water, but it wasn't enough to quench his thirst. Now Cassie started losing hope. She said maybe the submarine they were heading toward might not even be there. Julia scolded her and told her to stop talking like that. They would keep moving forward and she would save them. Because of Julia's determination, they began walking again. After a while, they found the wreck of an old plane that had crashed into the ocean years ago. It was broken but still standing. The three of them went inside and hid. Sitting there, Julia took out a family photo they had clicked the previous night. Looking at it, everyone remembered Tom. None of them could believe how much their lives had changed in just one day. Night began to fall. Exhausted, Cassie and Ben fell asleep. But suddenly, Cassie woke up because she heard a strange noise. She went outside the plane to see where it was coming from. The killer was there, creeping closer. Just as he was about to attack Cassie, Julia appeared from behind and attacked him. This time, Julia was furious. She fought him again and again until finally she killed him. The danger was over. Julia took a deep breath of relief and rested peacefully. When they woke up the next morning, they saw the killer's body lying in a horrible condition. Some dangerous creature had torn him apart and eaten parts of his body. They realized that a deadly creature was somewhere nearby. They needed to reach Captain Now's submarine quickly. Julia looked at the map to find the direction. Meanwhile, Ben wandered off to look for water. When he saw a pond, he immediately started drinking from it without thinking. Julia had warned him that the water was poisonous, but Ben was too thirsty to listen. Julia ran and stopped him, but by then, he had already drunk too much. After a while, Ben fell sick and couldn't walk anymore. Julia and Cassie had no choice but to make a small shelter there and rest. Soon, Julia heard strange noises outside. When she went out, she saw many crabs crawling toward them. All three panicked and started running. After some distance, they saw a huge cargo ship filled with containers. Many people were hiding inside those containers. When they saw Julia and her children, they quickly went back inside. They were scared of the massive crowd of crabs coming toward them from behind. Julia and her children ran to the container and started begging for help. They pleaded for the people inside to open the door, but no one did. Meanwhile, the army of crabs was coming closer and closer. They decided to climb up on top of the container. Julia helped the children climb up first. When she was climbing, one of the crabs bit her leg. She somehow managed to free herself and reach the top. Julia tied a scarf around her wound to stop the bleeding, then fainted. Meanwhile, Cassie and Ben saw that the crabs had cut through the metal walls of the container and crawled inside. The people hiding there tried to fight them with whatever weapons they could find, but there were too many crabs. No one survived. Within minutes, all the people inside were killed. The next morning, Julia woke up. She looked around and couldn't see her children. Panic filled her. She thought something terrible had happened. But after a while, Cassie and Ben came walking back from a distance. They had gone to look for food, water, and weapons. Now, the crabs were gone. Julia cleaned and bandaged her leg wound. Ben gathered weapons from the dead bodies inside the containers, just in case they needed them later. After that, Julia contacted Captain Now again. He told her that those same creatures had attacked him too, and he was badly injured. He said he couldn't help them anymore. He also warned that the ocean water would soon return to its place. Julia started crying because they didn't know which direction the submarine was in anymore. Their map had been lost while running earlier. Then, suddenly, the captain fired a flare into the sky to show his location. Ben saw it, but it was very far away. All three of them started moving as fast as they could toward the submarine. But the path was very hard and dangerous. They might have to face the crabs again on the way. The risk was huge. She told her to just keep moving forward. They had just started walking again when suddenly a landslide began. Julia was at the very back, and a huge rock fell in front of her, trapping her there. Cassie didn't want to leave her behind, but Julia made her promise to save herself and her brother at any cost. With no other choice, Cassie took Ben and moved forward. When they reached the submarine, they started knocking on the door, but no one answered. Then, suddenly, Captain Now appeared behind them. He was badly injured. He said 3 people could fit inside the submarine, but his chances of survival were very low. Even if he went in, he wouldn't live long. Hearing this, Cassie ran back immediately. She reached Julia, but the swarm of crabs had returned. Julia began shooting them with the gun, but soon ran out of bullets. Cassie reached down, grabbed her mother's hand, and pulled her up. Both of them ran as fast as they could back to the submarine. All 3 quickly got inside. The crabs were chasing them, and from a distance, a gigantic ocean wave was coming their way. It was hundreds of meters high and looked terrifying. The massive wave slammed into the submarine. Everything went dark as they were knocked unconscious. When Julia woke up, she realized the submarine was no longer underwater. The huge wave had carried them all the way to a city. That city was completely destroyed. It was clear that every sign of human life on land had been wiped out. And with that terrifying sight, the story ends. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and don't forget to like it. Thanks for watching.